All right, let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. This is their offseason overview, and then, we'll give one thing to watch, record prediction, division finish, all that stuff. But this is what they did this offseason. They didn't re-sign anybody. They added Nickeil Alexander-Walker to a 4-year deal. They added Luke Kennard to a 1-year deal, and obviously Kristaps Porzingis in that 3-team trade. They said goodbye to Clint Capella, who went to the Rockets. Karis LeVert went to the Pistons. Terrence Mann, he's up in Brooklyn. Larry Nance Jr. is with the Cavs. Georges Niang was in that 3-team trade, and David Roddy was waived. What is your number one thing to watch for the Atlanta Hawks this upcoming season?
How healthy they can stay. With Jalen Johnson, Kristaps Porzingis, health is gonna be what everybody's looking out for. If they can stay healthy, I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. That is a question mark with Kristaps Porzingis up until this point in his career, and Jalen Johnson, who got hurt last year. So I think health.
Yeah, 100%. Another thing I want to add is Trae Young's extension. This past week, I think it was Tim McMahon that said the future of Trae Young with the Atlanta Hawks continues to be, quote, murky. That's because he has not received that extension past this year. He does have a player option next season, but my thought would be he does not want to take that, 1-year, one-off player option. He wants to, sign a long-term deal in Atlanta, and it just has not happened. My record prediction for them is 46-36. I have them finishing second in this division, but no matter Kristaps' health, I think their additions on this roster are good enough to, have them finish 10 games over 500, but I don't envision them being a 50-win team because of Kristaps.
I think they're going to be a 50-win team.
And make that point.
Because they are one of the most talented teams in the East. It's the Knicks, it's the Cavs, and Atlanta, I think, is just as, if not more talented than the Orlando Magic.
That's not true, and that's where we disagree. The Orlando Magic, a team that you argue Franz Wagner is the best player on, they have a former number 1 overall draft pick in Paolo Banchero. They made one of the biggest offseason trades in Desmond Bane, and we'll get to where they will finish and where I think they will finish. But as far as Eastern Conference royalty, this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 3 years. This is a team who has to rely on Kristaps Porzingis' health whenever we bring up on this show. Nobody knows what happened to Kristaps Porzingis in last year's playoffs. Nobody knows. And we still don't know if that's lingering, if it's not. He just disappeared in the playoffs, and nobody talks about it. Nobody reports on it. Nobody does anything about it. Kristaps Porzingis, yes, his physical body has been injured, but now it seems like something much deeper is going on, and I'm not relying on that for them to be some type of 50-win team and finish third in the Eastern Conference. Jalen Johnson has to stay healthy on top of that. Zachary Ricochet has to take another leap on top of that. Luke Kennard is a guy who logged DNPs for the Memphis Grizzlies, who refused to shoot the ball because of his shooting percentage. He knew he was on a 1-year deal. He knows he's on a 1-year deal now, and he wants to keep that percentage as high as possible, the number 1 percentage in the NBA. So Nickeil Alexander-Walker being added to this, yes, is a great piece, and that's why I have them 10 games over 500, but not a 50-win team.
Atlanta has 3 All-Stars. Orlando has 3 All-Stars. Atlanta's 3 All-Stars are Trae Young, Porzingis, and Jalen Johnson. I think they complement each other much more than Orlando's big 3 with Franz Palu, who I don't think complement each other at all. And Desmond Bane, he fits with any team. Kristaps Porzingis and what happened with him, I don't think is alarming, because we've seen in FIBA basketball over the summer that Porzingis has been dominating the games that he's played in. It seems like he's back to playing very high-level basketball. I think he'll be fine for the regular season. I don't expect him to play 70 games, but I expect him to play 50 games at least. I think you can expect him to miss anywhere from 20 to 30 games a year. And I think Atlanta, with all the additions they added, having a top 3 defensive player of the year candidate, having one of the best point guards in the NBA, having one of the best forwards in the NBA, and Jalen Johnson on one of the best deals in the NBA, having a defender, an offensive player like Kristaps Porzingis who provides spacing, Ricochet getting better in his second season. We're talking about a first overall pick here. And then the addition of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you have Onyeka Okongwu. This team is very talented, and I think they will be a 50-win team this year.
Number one, Kristaps Porzingis is not an all-star anymore. Nothing I saw towards the end of last season shows me that he's an all-star.
He's not an all-star level player?
He could not start in the playoffs, Joel.
Because he was
They had him coming off the
sickness.
bench. He was so bad, and his plus minus was so bad. He was such a liability that the team he had just won a championship with did not start him. They
What did
played them.
Desmond Bain do in the playoffs? So
I'm going
he's
to get
not.
to
So
Desmond.
he's not good.
I'm talking about one team has 3 All-Stars and the other one doesn't. Kristaps Porzingis is not an All-Star anymore. If last time I checked, Jalen Johnson hasn't made an All-Star team
He's
yet.
an all-star caliber player.
100% he's an all-star caliber player. But you talk about fit as well. Fit on top of the Kristaps Porzingis point. Well, Orlando Magic were last in three-point shooting percentage the past couple years. They went out and got one of the best shooters in the NBA. I
One
think
guy.
that's a good fit. I think that's a good fit.
Yes, it is. It is a good fit. The Atlanta Hawks needed somebody to alleviate pressure off of Trae Young. Jalen Johnson has do-it-all skills at the forward spot. If we're being technical about it, Porzingis, if you say he's not an all-star, if Jalen Johnson's not an all-star, then Desmond Bain's not an all-star because he's never made one, and Franz Wagner isn't an all-star either. That means both these teams just have technically one all-star in Trae and Paolo Banchero. If we want to be technical about it, if you want to be technical, then that's the technicality of it. And Desmond Bain also was awful in the playoffs, and he was healthy.
He 100% was awful, but he was in a role that's not meant for him. He was not a third option in those playoffs. Ja Morant was knocked out of that series. Him as a first or second option, we have seen, is not good. It does not have good results. But talking about technicality, Kristaps Porzingis isn't going to be able to flank Trae Young because he wasn't able to flank Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Drew Holiday. All 4 of those guys. And not to mention, he couldn't start over a 40-year-old Al Horford. So why would he start over a Nneka Okongwu? We're talking about Kristaps Porzingis potentially coming off the bench here.
Porzingis is going to come off the bench?
That's what he did. If he can't start over a 40-year-old Al Horford, why would you start him over Okongwu?
Porzingis
if he looks like that,
I
think it results in Kristaps Porzingis getting benched 3 months into the season.
If he we're in 3 different timelines here. We're in the future, what's going to happen, what happened in the playoffs, and what happened in the middle there. FIBA basketball, where Porzingis looked
We're
amazing.
Judging this off FIBA basketball. Dennis Schroeder would be an All-NBA player in FIBA.
The last time Porzingis was playing basketball, he was awesome. That is what I'm saying. The last time he played basketball, he was awesome. He was dealing with the sickness. That's why he was playing so poorly. But throughout the entire regular season for the Celtics, he's always been their third most valuable player. He was very valuable to them in a regular season. We're talking about the regular season right now.
You cover the NBA for a living. I do too. We turn on a FIBA game this month, and 9 times out of 10, I would not be able to name 3 guys on the court with Kristaps Porzingis. And you wouldn't be able to either. I'm not bringing FIBA basketball into this conversation.
That matters.
The last time we saw him, if it matters, then Dennis Schroeder would be a $200 million player because for Germany, he is that good. I'm just talking about the last time he was on an NBA court, he was unstartable.
And Dennis Schroeder is a really good player. And Alperen Şengün right now is dominating FIBA, and he's an all-star player. And Kristaps Porzingis, the fact that he went from what you said, unplayable, to now he looks good at playing basketball again in FIBA. Who else
is their team going to play, Joel? Who else are they going to run?
It's not about who's they're going to play. It's about how he's playing, and how he's playing is really well. So I can expect that the Atlanta Hawks are getting a good Kristaps Porzingis, and I think he's going to be good for them. I don't think he's going to be a bench player for them.
We shall see. I mean, more miles this summer on an already glassy Kristaps Porzingis. I don't know if it results in. I'm just not ready to judge it off FIBA basketball.
Okay. Well, I think I'm judging it off of his history. His history is that he's an all-star caliber player.
His history is that he doesn't play. His history is that he doesn't play.
In the playoffs, in the regular season, he's available for the most part.
We shall see. On to the Charlotte Hornets. Offseason overview for them. They re-signed Trey Mann to a 3-year deal. They added Pat Connaughton via a trade with the Bucks. They added Spencer Dinwiddie to a 1-year deal, Mason Plumlee to a 1-year deal, Colin Sexton in that bizarre trade with the Utah Jazz. They said goodbye to Micic, Yusuf Nurkic, and Josh Okogie. Mark Williams also departed in a trade with the Suns. What is your number one thing to watch?
It's health as well. LaMelo hasn't played over 60 games since his rookie year, I believe. He just always has an injury bug, and then Brandon Miller got hurt this past season. That's what I'm watching for, but I think if things go right, they're a 35-win team. I think with LaMelo staying healthy, Brandon Miller staying healthy, Con Kneppel adding him to the team, I think they have some weaknesses at center. They don't have a lot of viable centers, but I think this team, if they're healthy in a weak East, could rattle off some wins here, but that's like best case scenario. This is probably going to be like a 30-win team.
Yeah, that's what I have him as. I have him going 30 and 52. My number one thing to watch is Miller's third year leave. You know, he's unhealthy most of his second year. Can he take a jump this year? I'm interested to see if that affects anything because regardless of LaMelo's health, I think if this team is going anywhere, Brandon Miller has to be a big part of that. I've been finishing fourth in the division as well, and then at the end with the full standings of it. But let's get to the Miami Heat. They didn't re-sign anybody, but they did add Davion Mitchell, Norman Powell, and Fontecchio. Said goodbye to Kyle Anderson, Hayward Highsmith, Kevin Love in that Jazz trade, and Duncan Robinson went to the Pistons in a sign and trade. What's your number one thing to watch for them?
Offensive creation. They're a great defensive team, but last year they really struggled offensively because Tyler Hero was the only player offensively who could generate anything for them. And that's why Norman Powell being added to the team helps them a lot. When Kawhi was out, he was averaging 23 to 24 points per game for the LA Clippers. He was getting some all star nods. So I think his spark offensively is going to be a big boost to this team. But this feels like a 41 and 41 win team. It feels like a team that's going to be 500, if not a little bit below that. They're going to be a playing team, but that's where I see them. I think they added a major offensive player to their team, and that should get them better at the very least.
I don't see them as a 41 and 41 win team. I see them closer to the Hornets than that. My number one thing to watch is Norm Powell's fit there. I mean, is Andrew Wiggins still going to be on the roster? I keep getting rumors about LA. That hasn't happened yet. Seems like a bit of overlap whenever it comes to their roster. Bam Adebayo took a step back last season. Tyler Hero made an All Star team, but you can argue if he was in the West, he would not have made that All Star team. So the fit and the direction of this team is clunky, and I think this is the year that in spring they had I believe a 12 game losing streak. I feel like that continues on, and it's a 35 and 47 record for them.
Miami closer to Charlotte. So you had Charlotte 30, and then you have Miami 37.
I got them at 35 and
35.
47.
Okay, 35. I mean, I don't know. I think you're selling Miami a little bit short.
Norm Powell, I understand like he had a good year for the LA Clippers and stuff, well, but James Harden, your guy, had a lot to do with that. And the gravitational pull he has on any basketball court that he steps on, Norm Powell is going to be there with Tyler Hero. And Tyler Hero, as great of a scorer as he is, he's not the decision maker and facilitator that James Harden is. And especially if Andrew Wiggins is there, that's just another guy around him that just doesn't fit with me. The Norm Powell thing, yes, on paper they got him for super cheap, but like team wise, I don't know if it's the best fit for him.
There was just two additions that I feel like are going to help out the Heat. Number one is Powell, and number two is the ascension of Davion Mitchell. I think that he found a real home in Miami. He was good in the playoffs, and his defense is what they need coming off the bench. So that's where I feel like Miami is going to be a team that they're going to be an average team. I think they're going to have some good moments, but overall, they need some serious leaps from young players that they have, whether it's Jaime Jaquez, Khalil Ware, Pell Larson. They need one of those guys to step up and be a consistent role player for them.
Yeah, and I think one fact we can both agree on is the Terry Rozier trade from 2 years ago has been an absolute disaster, not because of the gambling stuff, but the on court play has been miserable as well. He's, I think, trying to negotiate a buyout. He doesn't want one. The team does. It's a whole mess with that too. So throw that in there with all the other problems they have going on as well. The next team is a team that I argue is going to be better than the Atlanta Hawks. It's the Orlando Magic. They re-signed Paulo Banchero, 5-year extension, Mo Wagner on a 1-year deal. They added Desmond Bain via that Grizzlies trade. They got another former Grizzly and Tyus Jones on a 1-year deal in free agency. Said goodbye to Cole Anthony, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and Gary Harris. What's your number one thing to watch for the Orlando Magic?
How much does Desmond Bain improve their shooting woes? It is just one player. So is that one player going to be enough at his volume to now make this a great 3 point shooting team? Because this was the worst 3 point shooting team in the NBA last year. And I think adding a player of Desmond Bain's caliber helps that. But I don't know if it makes you one of the 15 best shooting teams now if you have four other players in a lineup that can't shoot the basketball consistently, and Suggs, Franz, Paulo, and then Wendell Carter Jr. So that is my concern. I still think that although Desmond Bain's addition helps their shooting, I don't think it solves it completely because that's just one player. And KCP coming from Denver last year did shoot well for Denver, then goes to Orlando, shoots poorly. But from 2025 onwards, KCP did shoot the ball well. It's difference in volume. He's going to maybe at most take 3 to 4 attempts a game, where Desmond Bain's taking like 8 to 10. So that's the difference in volume there. But KCP shot well in the second half of the year, and they still were not a good 3 point shooting team. So I think we have to see if the spacing is still fixed, because I don't think one player fixes the spacing. You watch the Memphis Grizzlies, and Desmond Bain has been an elite shooter for Memphis for his entire career, and Memphis' spacing still has been wonky, even with him on the court. So that's what I want to see with Orlando. And then the fit between Paulo and Franz.
You're right. One player doesn't fix the spacing. But what if I told you they added another player who shoots 5 3-pointers a game at a 41% clip? What would you say?
If you tell me it's Tyus Jones, I'm not going to care.
Tyus Jones takes 5 a game at a 31% clip. That is two players who shoot above 40% and can solve problems like that.
And Tyus Jones does not matter to me in this equation.
He does not matter. A team that literally doesn't have a point guard outside of Jalen Suggs. They add a point guard and a guy who fixed the shooting woes, and he just doesn't matter.
I don't think Tyus Jones is that good. I think there's a reason why
he's not a starter. He's not a starter. And he's shown that in Washington, he's not a starter. In Phoenix, he's not a starter. But what he showed in Memphis is he is a great backup point guard, which is the role he's going to be asked to play here.
He also showed in Memphis that being a backup point guard, he was terrible in the playoffs. And then with the Suns, when he was a backup point guard, Colin Gillespie was looking better than him. So they ended up not playing Tyus anymore. So I think Tyus is fine, but I don't think like him alone.
We're not.
I just don't see it. Like I don't see like him and Tyus Jones being the major additions. I think Desmond Bain's addition is good on its own. I think that Jace Richardson has potential to be better than Tyus Jones year one.
It's not outrageous, but I'm just saying, as far as Orlando, if you would have swapped out Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Gary Harris for Desmond Bain, Tyus Jones, and you re-sign the guys you need to re-sign, you would take that trade 100% of the time. You cannot argue this team has gotten better. So if they're not going to be better than the Atlanta Hawks, what record does it take for them to finish behind Atlanta, in your opinion?
In the regular season, I think they could finish with a better record than Atlanta, just because Atlanta has injury concerns with Porzingis.
That's what we've been talking about, Jordan.
Yes. But no, you've been talking about the playoffs, and that's why
you just brought up Tyus Jones in the playoffs. I wasn't the only one,
because you brought up Porzingis first. That's why I brought up Tyus Jones. Yeah, because you're propping up Tyus Jones, but you were just dismissing Porzingis this entire time. So Orlando, they have injury concerns of their own, though. Paolo and Franz oblique injuries last year. Jalen Suggs has consistently been injured in his NBA career, so they have had some injury concerns as well. But I think that they're going to hover around the 50-win mark. I think they're going to be a team, once again, led by their defense. That's what I think is going to be their calling card. Yeah. And this is going to be like a 52-win team. They're going to be a 50-win team. It's going to be 50 to 52 wins. But they're not that much better than Atlanta. They're not.
In this Eastern Conference, a team this talented with as much shooting now on the roster, it's 54-55-win team. I got them 54-28. Clear runaway for the division at first. That would be an 8-game lead over Atlanta in the standings as well. We'll just agree to disagree then.
Maybe divisions need to start mattering in the NBA.
Well, the Eastern Conference standings do matter, and they will be 8 games ahead in those Eastern Conference standings. So
okay, 8 games ahead. I don't know about that.
46-36, and I have Orlando 54-28, and it's not that hard to sell. Washington Wizards are the final team. Speaking of hard to sell, they re-signed no one, but they did bring back Marvin Bagley on a 1-year deal. They added Malachi Branham, Dylan Jones, C.J. McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, Blake Wesley, Cam Whitmore. They said goodbye to Sadiq Bey, Anthony Gill, Rashawn Holmes, who I did not know was in the league, Kelly Olynyk, Jordan Poole, and Marcus Smart was waived as well. One thing to watch for them.
If their young players take leaps into being offensive or good offensive players. Yeah. Alex Sarr was terrible offensively. Bilal Coulibaly was still terrible offensively. If those two players can be better offensively, I think it bodes well for their future. But I think the best young prospect here is Trey Johnson, the player they just drafted. With his shooting ability, he's able to score 19 to 21 a night. I think he's going to be one of the better scorers in the league. And then Bub Carrington is going to get a bigger role as well. Because they added vets like C.J. McCollum and Chris Middleton, although injured most of the time, I think that this team could be like a 25-win team, maybe like capped out. but that's what it feels like their like ceiling is. And having those two players, I think if maybe they're a little bit better than they expect, they're going to trade them at the trade deadline, maybe to get something back, especially with them being on expiring deals. So Washington this year is just about the growth of their young players offensively. Defensively, they have shown some flashes, but offensively, there's still a lot to be worked on. So I think that is the main question for them.
Yeah, I agree. I want to add Alex Sarr in there as well. I just want to see what he can do in his second year because it started off rough. His summer league last year was rough. I want to see a leap from him. Record prediction, I mean, it's dismal. They won 18 games last year, Joel. Like I'm going winning 15 this year, 15 and 67. All their vets are gone. I mean, if you want to count CJ McCollum in 2025, go ahead. But I feel like there's something to be said about Marcus Smart and the other guys they had on the roster, Chris Middleton and stuff. Chris Middleton will be back, but how much will he play? We'll just has yet to be seen. But 15 and 67, last in the division.
Yeah, I mean they're terrible. They're terrible. They're young. They're terrible. They want to be terrible. They want to get a top pick. And if they are better than we expect, that the Knicks get their first round pick. So they're not. They don't want that to happen.